Good evening, everyone, and I see Amir Ali is already queued up. I have a brief introduction for you, Amir Ali John, if you hang in there.
Sure.
I was about to say that we have two guests tonight, and they are both gurus and authorities in their respective fields, but they're these two diverse fields that we are entertaining tonight. One of them is a renowned leader and authority and innovator in the precision medicine, the field of precision medicine. And the other one is an expert in planning and executing the ultra-massive infrastructure demanded by the uber intelligent systems of the future. I'm looking forward to our chat with both, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from them. But our first guest, Dr. Amir Ali Talasaz, currently serves as the co-founder and co-CEO of Guardant Health. Prior to co-founding Guardant Health, he was the Senior Director of Diagnostics Research at Illumina, and he led efforts to develop next-generation genomic analysis for emerging clinical applications. Dr. Talasaz received his PhD in electrical engineering and MSc in management sciences from Stanford University. Please help me give a warm welcome to Dr. Amir Ali Talasaz.
Thank you all. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much. It's great that we can hear your voice as well as having your picture. You were born in Iran, Amir Ali, and you did part of your university education in Iran, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, ba salam be hame. It's great to see you all from a distance. I can't recognize people, but yeah, it's great to still be able to see you. Yes, I was in Iran till 2001. I did my undergrad in Sharif University and then came to continue my education at Stanford.
It is customary that for those people who went to university in Iran, we asked them about their concours rate. What was your concours position?
I was number 33.
Very good, very respectable. Some people objected to this one, but those people who object to it, they don't have to tell us what their ranking was. My first question is just digging into your background. What made you realize that you want to be an engineer in Iran? What made you an engineer? What event or what transpired that?
Frankly, it was not till very late in high school. Like, I don't know how's the high school in Iran right now, but during my years, till the last year of the high school, you had the option of switching between math and biology. And I started the high school in the field of mathematics and going toward the engineering route, but still I always had behind my head that maybe I would switch and take the examination toward getting the, go toward the MD route. But during the last year, after trying to memorize a bunch of biological sciences and books, I figured out maybe I have
better talent in math.
Talent and higher passion for math and engineering. But fast forward now, I don't know how many years after, probably 25, 30 years after now, I ended up working on biological sciences again. So here we go.
Full circle around, you're coming back to medicine. So for us, for some of the people in the audience who may not be familiar with precision medicine, that's the term you use, or other people say personalized medicine. Can you define that? Can you tell us what are the aspects of this new field, which is, I assume, based on genomes and gene sequencing?
Yeah, in general, the overall concept is like there are different kind of treatments that just work on a specific subset of the patient. And the promise of precision medicine is trying to use the medication and the medicine as it's personalized and as it's appropriate for each individual person. Typically, it's contains some kind of biomarker testing to classify patients and categorize patients into different classes, and then using appropriate treatment, appropriate diagnostic, appropriate intervention based on the category that the patient falls into. So specifically in our field and the company we work at Guardant Health, we are focused on the field of oncology, which means cancer. So in this field, there are some treatment that works for some specific patients who have some specific genomic abnormalities, and other patients may not benefit from those treatments. So we try to match right patients with the right treatment by using the tests that we have developed.
Okay, right now you are at what stage? Do you have tests that can tell conclusively whether oncological conditions or cancer is present in a patient?
Yeah, so Guardant Health is now kind of a small, mid-sized company, about 2,000 people. It's like a 12-year-old company now. And we have blood tests, what's called in this field as liquid biopsies, blood tests that we can say what treatment works on cancer patients, what treatment does not work on cancer patients. It became standard of care. About 20% of all cancer patients in the US are using our test right now. We have blood tests that are used to look at the relapse of cancer in the patients who are survivors of their disease. And most recently, we launched a blood test. We recently got FDA approval for it that is for early detection of cancer with initial indication of colorectal cancer for people who don't go through colonoscopy, they don't have access to, or they are not interested to go through it. Our blood test is indicated for them.
I'm sorry, some people over there are having a conversation. Can you take your conversation outside? Because it's distracting to us. Thank you. So along the way that you are right now with these achievements, I'm sure you have a lot of challenges. And in the future, you're going to face a lot more challenges because this is not going to be smooth sailing for the economy that can handle only a certain percentage of people who can afford this kind of a treatment. First, can you go back and tell us what challenges did you have to overcome? You had to overcome to get to this place. What were the big problems that you solved?
I think each chapter of the company has its own kind of interesting challenges. I think throughout the life cycle of companies, one thing that's very important is continuous development, embracing challenges, and having what we call it in our company a greedy mindset, that you embrace challenges, show persistency to really be able to go through those up and downs. Early days, there were a bunch of scientific risks in what we were doing. Like, it looked kind of sci-fi. With a blood test, you can find the tumor signals in blood. Like, how is it possible? Then commercialization risk, building teams, scalability, regulatory reimbursement, and so forth.
What was the biggest challenge? What was the thing that kept you up at night for a few weeks?
Well, I mean, the good thing is I typically have a good night's sleep. I think when I have smaller kids, that was a typical reason I was kind of losing some sleep. But, putting joke aside, I think the reality is in the sector that we are in, diagnostics and clinical services, one of the biggest risks is reimbursement, convincing insurance companies to cover the tests that we are offering. That's one of the biggest risks. And after that, I think interesting challenge of building teams and scaling organization. Each chapter of company is different. When you're just it was me and two co-founders that we started this company. Then when we reached to 50, 150, 500, about 2,000, each chapter has its own kind of unique challenges that you have to live through it. But as long as you're committed to the values that you have in the company, as long as you're passionate, what you're after, you have the right North Star, and you have a great team around you, then you can go through those up and downs if you have the right mindset.
Well, you have reached a stage that you're very proud of the company, obviously, and about its challenges. I want to go through some of the challenges that you may have in the future. One of them is obviously cost and accessibility. It's going to be very expensive for a patient to be treated with this kind of analysis, because you got to sequence the genome, you're going to, maybe epigenetics will come in. Also, there's a factor of the insurance coverage. Many insurances will not cover this one. So you may come up with a solution that only a very small and thin segment of a society will enjoy using that. Do you see that as a challenge, and how are you preparing and planning to face it?
There are different kind of players in our sector. There are some companies who are just after self-pay market, and they believe in consumerization of health services, high deductible healthcare plan. Patients would pay out of pocket. Our business plan has always been toward making sure everybody get access to the tests that we develop to the extent that we can. You know, the mission that we had at Guardant was really having equitable access and bringing and doing some impactful work for the society. So that's what drives many of our team members at this company to work very hard. So what does that mean? We needed to go through the harder route, which means convincing payers to pay for our tests. Right now, our flagship product for advanced cancer patients, 300 million people in the United States have access to it, like their insurance, cover our tests. For even our latest product for cancer screening, we went through the route of doing a 25,000 patient study, getting FDA approval for it. And as a result of it, when we went through those kind of steps, now all Medicare beneficiaries today have access to that blood test with $0 out of pocket, or very, very low, dollar out of pocket. So we didn't go through this self-pay methodology that you're talking about. For international markets, though, for a bunch of them, we went through self-pay because we couldn't take the risk of reimbursement at a global level. But in US, we are taking on the hassle of convincing payers to pay for the test.
But the economic fact is, if the treatment is very, very expensive, then either you have to raise the premium or you have to exclude some other people. There's no other magic math that I'm aware of.
So a promise of precision medicine is, for a bunch of patients, you're going to avoid using costly treatment that's not going to even add value to the patient. You're just going to add toxicity. So that's really, in fact, we need to do health economical models and studies to prove to payers that if you cover this specific test, the overall healthcare cost would go down. It would not go up. So that's part of the process. We need to convince people that it would be a net save by adding this test in their menu.
Another issue that you may have to face is the ethical concerns regarding privacy and data security. The extensive use of personal genetics and health data raises concerns about the privacy, data security, and the potential for misuse, discrimination based on genetic information. How do you plan to counter this ethical concern?
Yeah, the market that we are in is heavily regulated, in terms of PHIs, in terms of, privacy matters, of disclosing patient information, even using patient information or health information or genomic information for pure research-based activities. It's heavily actually regulated, and we have put a bunch of SOPs, firewalls, and terms and conditions in our agreements when we are rendering a specific service to make sure we are following those regulations. This is a very serious matter, and I think skilled companies in our sector, all of them need to follow those regulations. There are ways to handle it to really make sure you're handling patient data with high level of security and privacy. But it needs attention. But it's doable. It's doable. Right now, probably we've done testing on about, I don't know the latest, probably 1 million people by now. And like just the amount of firewalls and security systems that we have on the platforms that we just store patient genomic data in is top notch, which it should be. If there are any data breaches, like it's going to have credibility issue, it's even generates a bunch of federal fines. We cannot take those matters easily.
If you depend on federal regulations, I think we are in the environment that the regulation is actually decreasing. So you may be in luck as far as the government is concerned.
Some of the regulations really are right kind of regulations. So even if some matters get kind of slowed down, when you're after adding social impact to the society, you're going to keep the bars high. But yes, there are some regulations that frankly nobody knows why they are even in place. So yeah, we'll see what happens under new administration.
Let me tell you about another concern that I think is worth pondering. Limited generalization of the data. Population diversity is another hurdle that I think is worth considering. Much of the research that underpins personalized medicine is based on data from predominantly European or homogeneous populations. This can limit the applicability of treatments to diverse populations, as genetic variations in different ethnic or racial groups may not be fully understood. So you're targeting for the generalized data, which essentially excludes the populations which are on the edge. How do you plan to counter this?
With the means that we have, we always try to have very inclusive trials, inclusive data generation activities. I give you an example, like this 25,000 patient trial that I mentioned for our latest product, the cancer screening product for colon cancer screening. In fact, the patient population really mimicked the US patient population. For instance, non-white participant in that trial was much higher than even many of pharmaceutical trials which are happening for blockbuster drugs. But it was not easy. It was like we had to go to some rural areas. We needed to go to some community centers, to some church events to really be able to enroll the patients who are typically having less access to the classical health system. So it's possible. We've done it whenever we had the opportunity to do it. And again, it was kind of connected to the values that we have at Guardant to make sure people get equitable access to these innovative technologies. So we went that extra mile to make sure the data is really representative of the whole US patient population performance.
How about data complexity? How are you trying to conquer that? Are you using any AI or any type of the newer technologies that AI is conquering in your work?
Yeah, so for our cancer screening product, actually, our data analysis is based on AI algorithms, and we are looking at a bunch of epigenomics. It could get like very easily confusing for people who are not expert in this field, but we generate deep data on the epigenomics part of human genome for detecting cancers at earlier stages. And then we have a bunch of AI algorithms that, based on the databases that we have correlated with different clinical conditions, can categorize, hey, do I think this patient has cancer or not? And if it has cancer, what kind of a cancer it has? So we are using it to some extent in our product. And then most recently, like many other companies, we are using AIs to improve productivity in our company. Like there are thousands and thousands of documentations that top-notch world-class scientists in our companies need to put in place, let's say just for interactions with regulatory bodies, FDA. So now a bunch of those documents are getting drafted by just LLM solutions. And then our top-notch PhDs just kind of edit those final documents. We are seeing about 30% productivity improvement in our R&D team as a result of some of these AI solutions.
Another problem which is related is while we made significant progress in understanding the human genome, much of the genetic data remains ambiguous or incomplete. Not all genetic variants are understood, and their clinical significance can vary. We had Mustafa Ronaghi here a few months ago, and we went through similar steps, and he was telling us that we don't know the majority data that lies in the genome of a person. And he was actually advising not to get your gene sequenced because we can't do much about it. So what do we do with this? On one hand, most of the genetic information that we extract with sequencing is unknown to us. On the other hand, we are using it for this critical and life-threatening cures. How do we square these two together?
So first of all, Mustafa is a great mentor for me and also a great friend. So I'm not going to debate anything with him. Many things I learned was through him in my early days at Stanford. So I do believe, genome and epigenome is almost like getting access to raw data. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what you need to do with raw data, it's very hard to understand anything out of it. And the problem we have in human genetic sciences is a bunch of these raw data is not understandable for us. That's right. But when we find some kind of signatures, then we can build an app on top of that raw data to make that data comprehensible to us for some specific application. Like the field of precision oncology and, matching treatment to cancer patient based on the genomic of their tumor is well studied. We don't understand all 3 billion letters and how it's correlated to disease outcome, but we understand few of them. And we know if the patient has this specific genomic signature or the other one, this drug is going to work or that drug is not going to work. Or for the field of cancer screening, in your blood, you should not have much signatures associated with degradation of your colon tissue. Mm-hmm. You should not have it. Once we detect it, that's not a good sign. So although we don't understand letter by letter raw data, what we are dealing with at a signature level based on the databases that we have captured and correlation of those raw data with some clinical symptoms and clinical information, we are understanding signatures pretty well. So for those applications, I think we can really bring genomic and epigenomic into the real world clinical utility. And we are doing it for the field of oncology.
Thank you very much. We admire your perseverance and tenacity in following your goals. My last question is a personal one. How do you manage your life-work balance, having 3 small children and having to act as a father and as a scientist and as a guru and as a manager of your company, CEO of your company?
And frankly, I feel I'm blessed that I work for this kind of a company that's been highly impactful. I don't really consider myself as guru without putting like all the Persian like kind of ta'aruf as aside. But just to answer your question, what I learned by studying a bunch of successful people is the importance of the time management and smart time management. And making sure that actually you spend quality time and allocate your most important resource that you have in life, which is your time. You allocate it wisely. There is a saying that best CEO sometimes is the CEO who allocates resources properly. You're the CEO of your time. All of us are CEO of our time. Let's allocate it properly. I try to be very cautious about it. And yes, I have a busy life, small kids. Sometimes I don't spend a lot of time with them. But when I spend time with them, I try to spend good quality time with them. And then having a supportive wife always helps too.
Excellent. So. Thank you very much. I would like to open the floor for the question from the audience. We have time for a few questions. Raise your hand. Can we get a microphone to Farzin over here in the second row? Please state your name and your affiliation before you ask your question.
Hi, my name is Farzin Firuzmand. I'm with F Squared Consulting, which is my own company. My question is, with your latest product for cancer screening. Is this going to cannibalize and obsolete colonoscopy?
No, no, frankly, like if anybody in this room or even to friends, even in the market, I say if you're okay to do colonoscopy and you have access to do colonoscopy, you should do that. That's the gold standard. But the reality is in US, about 50% of the people who need to do colonoscopy, they have other solutions like stool-based tests. After 20 years of having these standard of cares around, they are not doing their colon cancer screening. So this blood test would be a new choice in the menu that the physician and patient can talk about it. And if they think the risk benefit worth picking this test could be indicated for them. Our FDA label is very broad, like anybody can use it. It's not second line for like people who refuse to do colonoscopy. But again, just based on the focus that we have to do impactful work to society, we don't recommend it as a replacement for colonoscopy.
Next question comes from a gentleman over there.
Yeah, hi. It's Mesam Ghaffari and I am from MSK. So the question that I have is that we have so many different types of cancer and different types of people with different genomes. So the problem is that accessing the cancer data of the patient is very challenging and hard. And I wonder, what's the data set that you have that you were able to just match the genomes with the cancers? Because lots of them, even for the positive cases, we have cancer types that they are less than 0.001% of the patient. So I wonder, how did you deal with that? And how did you figure out the outcomes? Because you need several years to see that, okay, these patients are going to have positive response to specific treatments, right, and not the other ones. Thank you.
Right. So what you're saying is completely right, and that's why the tagline of our company is Conquer Cancer with Data. Cancer is a field which is data hungry. And before activating these blood tests or liquid biopsy tests to profile tumors through a simple blood test, all the data that we had in the field of oncology was dependent of getting access to tumor tissue, which is very limited. And that's why the field is data-starved. So now the amount of data that has been generated in the field of oncology has been vast. It's becoming broad and deep. And also when you correlate these genomic epigenomic data with the medical record of the patients, even the claim databases, you can have a very enriched clinical genomic data, clinical epigenomic data with a high quality that now the data talks to you in terms of revealing some clinical signs and biological signs. Bunch of progress that we made at Guardant of starting from advanced cancer, going to survivorship, and then going to cancer screening has been paved by what we learned through this data accumulation and listening to data, frankly. Good question.
And the last question goes to, we have two more questions then.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the talk. And this is Mona Haratianfar, a holistic nutritionist from Harmonize Her Company.
Please stand up so we can see you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Mona Haratianfar, holistic nutritionist from Harmonize Her Company. I want to know if your blood test is available for health practitioners to, order through Avexia or Rupa Health to be available to everyone. Or is it mostly like insurance-based, so it's not out-of-pocket available?
It's insurance-based and it's promoted through our direct sales channel. Right now, we have a nationwide, fully covered oncology channel. There are like 15,000 oncologists in the US. 14,000 of them have access to our products. They're using it very frequently. On the primary care physician, we are just building that sales force step by step. So we are in the very early innings of it, but our commercial plan has been through direct promotion by having sales rep promoting the test to the primary care physician.
And the last question goes to Farzad.
Hi, I'm Farzad Mobin. Hi, how are you?
Very good.
Perdazd, what's your affiliation?
Affiliation with Plug and Play?
No, with your own affiliation. Where do you work? Or what do you do?
I run a company called Elastic Teams. We do AI recruiting. My question is, for a normal, healthy person, is it a good idea to take this test once in a while?
If you are not doing colonoscopy, which I recommend you do, yes, do this kind of blood test or stool test. Take care of your health by doing cancer screening as recommended by guidelines. The most impactful fight we can have toward cancer is by detecting it early. We don't have very good solutions today for cancer screening. There are 100+ cancer types. For 5 of them, we have screening technologies. Out of 5, the best is for colon cancer, colon cancer and breast cancer. And for colon cancer, half of people don't do it. Even for breast cancer, about a third of people don't do it. So we are hoping that we can have some simple blood tests to contribute heavily, but take your cancer screening journey seriously. It's a lifetime commitment. It's not just one time. It's annual or every 3 years. Some kind of testing needs to be done.
Well, Dr. Amir Ali Talasaz, on behalf of Plug and Play, the Persian Tech Network, the AmidiGroup, and the Iranian community, I would like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us and informing us about your wonderful work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day and evening. Take care.